very good morning, good afternoon, salam, sat shri akal to my students. Kaise hain? How are you all? I hope you must be very fine and enjoying your electives as we all are enjoying. Now, in this elective, I am here to present a very important aspect of personality development. Before I begin to the topic, I want my learned students to read these two statements. What exactly you identify the difference in these two statements? And simultaneously, while going through these two statements, what should be the outcome in these two? Either both of them will have a positive outcome, or Mayers Robson will have a positive, or Franklin will have a positive. Which statement will have a positive outcome? I'll let you decide by yourself. I hope you must have taken your time to understand what will be the positive outcome. But of course, Tara Mayer Robson, when she says that when emotion is impregnated, induced, acknowledged with awareness, now that means not a blind emotion. It is no longer a blind emotion. It has been acknowledged, it has been induced with awareness. Why, how, in what circumstance an emotion is being aroused. So when an emotion is associated with awareness, then that emotion is brought to life. Power with life. However, anger, which is a blind emotion, whatever you start in anger will always end in shame. That means you will never be able to achieve anything positive when you are blinded with anger. So emotions is there on both the sides. I am not saying there is at one side there is only emotion, at other side there is no emotion. But the difference is awareness. What is that awareness? That awareness is you are no longer remaining in your dimension and thinking or taking a judgment. But you are stepping out of your shoes and understanding the situation of the opposite counterpart. You are understanding your emotions, you are understanding the counterpart's emotions, and then you are understanding the whole situation. And once you are understanding all these equations, all these emotions, different spectrum of emotions, and then you are producing a judgment, that means you are producing power in your emotion. It is no longer a blinded emotion, it is an emotion which is gifted with intelligence, and it becomes your emotional intelligence. My dear students, you must have read about IQ, intelligent quotient. Somebody has a very high IQ, somebody has a very low IQ. But it was seen that people who have a very average IQ were brilliantly successful in life. And in the 19th century, beginning of the 19th century, mark my words, in the beginning of the 19th century, intelligent quotient was there, IQ was there. But a new term was coined, EQ, emotional quotient, which reflected emotional intelligence. And that emotional intelligence, what it led was a creative mindset. So my dear students, today we will learn what is emotional intelligence, how this emotional intelligence is related with homeopathy, and how by being highly emotionally intelligent, you can be a leader, a successful homeopathic entrepreneur in your life. The most important part of a positively practicing personality, now mark my words, most important part of a positively, successfully practicing personality will be understood by you in the end of this presentation is emotional intelligence. In the end of the presentation, you will understand, you will learn how it is necessary to be emotionally intelligent. No doubt, intelligence quotient has its own value. But as I told you, there were some people in life who had average emotional intelligence, but based on their high EQ, they managed success in life. So historically speaking, the emotional intelligence as it came in 1930s, it was a social intelligence. It has nothing to do with academics, it has nothing to do with books. Those who have studied life, those who have studied the chapters of the life, those people were called as having good emotional intelligence. So it was a non-intellectual intelligence. And there were two brilliant minded persons, Savoy and Mayers. This is how they have described emotional intelligence. Understand each and every word of this definition, because throughout the presentation, the social intelligence, which involves the understanding of your emotion, your personal emotion, the emotion of your counterparts, the emotion of the society, or the other side of the emotions, and then you are blending them, you are amalgamating them, you are mixing them, you are providing them power of emotional intelligence to take a decision. Okay, so remember this definition, learn this definition, understand this definition of Savoy and Mayers, that emotional intelligence is a type of social intelligence. That means you are talking no longer about an individual and his efforts. You are talking about an individual who is interacting with his society, with individuals, keeping himself at the center. It's a type of social intelligence that involves the ability when you are looking or understanding or monitoring not only your emotions, but the emotions at the other end also. And you can finally discriminate in between these two emotions. You can finally differentiate between the two emotions, that means your emotion and the emotions at the other end. You are identifying, first point is identification of emotions at both the ends. Second, differentiation of emotions at both the ends. And after scrutinizing, evaluating, critically analyzing this information, you are taking a decision, you are making an action. Such a type of phenomena has been identified as emotional intelligence. Now, as you can see, the father of rocketry science of India, the person, our respected, very senior, no longer, may he rest in peace, APJ Abdul Kalam. He was a pioneer who looked into the enormous efforts, enormous possibilities of Indian rocket science. And he was a perfect example of creating an opportunity from adversity. My dear fellow students, you should remember, last year we have achieved a pinnacle of success, that was Chandrayaan. And what was said? Cattle science has taken a leap step. But when India became head to head, neck to neck with the developed nations, it was due to the emotional intelligence induced by APJ Abdul Kalam and lots of diligent workers like APJ Abdul Kalam. They had intelligence quotient, but along with, they knew how to harness the work of other people. They knew how to bring them together on a single platform. They knew how to work with a bunch of thousands and hundreds of intelligent intellectual minds without creating a conflict, with the essence of their leadership, with the essence of their understanding, with the essence of understanding so diversified emotions, and yet creating unity in such a diversity. That was their excellence, that today they are remembered as legends. We know Dhirubhai Ambani, pioneer who saw miraculous changes in textile industry, then in several other fields, from no one to the only one. The ambience of philanthropist Ratan Tata sir is an example of par excellence. We don't have words for such people. Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and most importantly for me, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, being a doctor of eclectic medicine. And above all, the most important for me and for you, our great master Hahnemann, the father of homeopathy, being a physician of eclectic medicine, based on his emotional intelligence only, he got dissatisfied with the existing treatment of those times. Based on his emotional intelligence only, he could raise the question why Sincona was treating, and he was dissatisfied by the bitter answer. His reason gifted mind and his EQ nature instigated him to create a system which we practice today, the dynamic therapeutic system, homeopathy. The father of Indian homeopathy and his enormous work cannot be forgotten. His EQ brought homeopathy and let homeopathy flourish in Calcutta and then to the rest of the India. So these persons with high emotional intelligence, what is so exact, what is so important about them? Their professionalism. Emotional intelligence is directly related with professionalism. Emotional intelligence creates an aspect of team performance. Emotional intelligence incites, instigates good decision making among team. As I said, unity among diversity. That is only possible when a person is working on the basis of his emotional intelligence, not IQ. Because when he is thinking about emotional intelligence, he is not only thinking from his point of view, but his vision is 360-degree. He is encompassing every possible thought which could come into his mind for his project or for his work. And when he works on EI, emotional intelligence, his team performance and decision making makes him an able leader. So as I said, emotional intelligence goes very strong in hand with professionalism, governing personal growth, governing professional growth, and governing socio-interactive capabilities. Emotional intelligence governs all these 6 factors in a very remarkable way. And all the 6 factors are so intimately engrossed in each other that one factor is not possible without the other one. It's like a philharmonic orchestra. It's like a beautiful melody of Lata Mangeshkar or any other singer which you cherish. But it is not only the musical notes, the lyrics, the sound, the voice gravity, the voice tone which pierces your heart. So emotional intelligence is an amalgamation of these things. Now, what is the role of emotional intelligence in academics? Because I'm here to deal with academics. I'm here to deal with my BHMS students of first year. So how emotional intelligence can help them? My dear students, group discussions are very important in today's teaching aspect. And when group discussions happens, your teaching, your learning capacity enhances geometrically. That is, from 2, 4 it goes to 16, from 16 it goes to 196, and like that. It doesn't increase like 2, 4, 16, 32, 64. So emotional intelligence plays a very important role in academics. First, when you carry on group discussions, you tend to exchange a lot of views. And when you are exchanging views, you are motivated by the other persons who may be more influential, who may be more knowledgeable, who may be more communicative, who may be more enthusiastic, who may be more dedicated. But when you are in a group, you can identify some or the other positive qualities from your group members. And it is then when you are enhancing your relationships with the other persons around you. When you are enhancing your relationships with other persons around you, you are growing in a way which will show its fruits in your good grades and good results. Performing good group discussions, performing good group activities, performing group activities in your practicals, performing good group activities in your class will enhance your knowledge, will enhance your academic presentation, will enhance your skill in education. And when you are skilled in your education, your collaboration will further increase because you are becoming an energy chamber of knowledge. And the more and more knowledge you are grasping and gaining and disseminating, the more and more people will follow you. You see, it's always lonely at the top. And as we go to the bottom, population increases. So, the more you make an effort of being emotionally intelligent, of being involving in group discussions, of making projects understand to those persons who have a poor IQ, in making understanding subjects to those students who have unfortunately left their subjects or unfortunately are unable to grasp. The more you give to others, the more is coming back to you in form of emotional intelligence. And as I told you, the more you will be spreading and disseminating your information, you will be more and more followed, and a leader will emerge from you. You will never know about your leadership abilities until and unless you go and explore yourself. You will never know about your inherent, innate leadership capabilities until and unless you go and help others, until unless you go and be ready to take up a task. When you will deliver a task, your driving performance will increase. When you deliver a subject in a tutorial, when you will deliver a subject in a group discussion, when you will deliver a subject in your lesson plan given by your teachers, your driving performance will increase. The lesson plans which have been introduced with a very positive mindset. They have been introduced in CBDC curriculum to augment, to enhance students their writing, reading and understanding capacities. And when their writing, reading and understanding capacities will increase, when they will focus on the emotional intelligence aspect. Focusing on emotional intelligence aspect will lead to their growth, personal growth. They will nurture their personal growth in form of good grades. They will nurture their personal growth in form of reactions they achieve from their colleagues. They will be assured about their personal growth when they will win as a successful candidate in group discussions. And such persons are always ready for change also. Because being stagnant leads to death ultimately. Even a straight line ECG means death. So there has to be ups and downs. It's not a cakewalk of all ups and no downs. So when you are emotionally intelligent and you are failure in your life, you will always think failure is success turned inside out. And when you are successful, your ego will not go over your head, because you know being successful has to be a journey. Being successful is not a destination. Today in one test you secure good marks, that is not a surety that you will always secure good marks. So you always counteract negative thinking, negative group thinking. You will always counteract conflicts. You will always counteract improper, illogical resolutions. If you are good at emotional intelligence, you will have a positive thinking, positive resolutions, and you will promote positive group thinking around you. Now coming back to the components of emotional intelligence in homeopathy, yes, there are very 4 important different components. The first is through emotional intelligence we can identify the character of a person. And my dear students, please refer aphorisms, because there is a particular aphorism which is related with an individual character. And you will learn that Henneman Sir, Dr. Christian Frederick Samuel Henneman Sir, was a visionary genius when he laid down the entire elaboration of the character of a human being. Emotional intelligence regulates an individual's emotional disposition, what appeals him, what disappeals him, what appeases him, what makes resentment, what makes him guilt, what are his grievances, what is he passionate about. These all things are related with his emotional intelligence, and ultimately they affect his homeopathic journey. Emotional intelligence reveals empathy of a person. Emotional intelligence reveals practical intelligence of a person. Emotional intelligence reveals memory, intellect, and comprehension of a person. And how they are applied in homeopathy, we will be understanding in subsequent slides. Now, as I told you, my dear students, the character of a person has been beautifully explained by our visionary genius, Dr. Christian Frederick Samuel Henneman, sir. He has said that character involves two important parts. And again, the personality, the first lecture is coming here. The structure of personality, the moral part. Do you remember what was the moral part of personality? The moral principle of personality? Yes, you are correct, the superego. So, the moral character and the intellectual character, along with several other traits, outlines or defines the character of a person. Here, the moral character is in a deep sense. To explain you the moral character, I will say two words. Rather, I will be asking you two questions. What gives you joy? What gives you joy? And what gives you pleasure? Now, immediately the structure of personality should again recollect in your mind. And you should remember pleasure was id principle. That means it had no reason, no logic. I want it my way. It's my way or highway. So, pleasure part where you are not focused about what others may think, the other part. So, the pleasure part of character has very less EQ, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient. But when it comes to moral character, the moral principles, that is a very higher part of EQ. And a blend of all this moral intellectual character makes a person's behavior, his character, and that character delineates his simillimum. Simultaneously, along with the character, his occupation. Tomorrow when you will go in final year, you will see sarcoidosis. Tomorrow when you will go in third year, final year, you will study practice of medicine. You will see goiter and endemic disease. Tomorrow you will study lifestyle diseases. You have a brilliant homeopathic remedy of lifestyle efforts, lifestyle disorders, Naksumika, Palsatla. They are all based on that entire totality of symptoms. But the occupation, mode of living, they really affect a person's health. The habits, his social and domestic relations, they have a pronounced effect on his health and on his personality. And as well as these interactions, socio-interactive capacities communicates, governs his EQ. And ultimately, age and sexual functions are also there. In young age, we are more adaptable. In young age, we are more easily flexible. As age grows, we become prejudiced. And the more we are prejudiced, the more we are moving away from emotional intelligence. We are moving more towards disease. So, emotional intelligence has a very important role in creating the character of a person. Simultaneously, emotional intelligence also helps you to understand and to delineate the disposition of an individual. Now, what disposition? The emotional disposition of an individual, and we have broadly studied about the Erickson's emotional model. We have studied all those 8 different dimensions of will, of hope, of love, of warmth, where we have studied how an individual reacts, how guilt, how autonomy, how shame, how other things develop in an individual. And when all these emotions are encountered, we are able to select a homeopathic remedy. So, emotional intelligence is related with emotional disposition, and both of them help you very strongly in case taking. Now, the role of emotional intelligence with empathy, and empathy is powerfully correlated with the definition of emotional intelligence. You read the definition of empathy, where it will be assuming, you will be assuming it is just what is recreated as a definition of emotional intelligence, where we are understanding the other emotions, emotions of the other person. We are stepping into the shoes of other persons. So, empathy is nothing but a parallel form of emotional intelligence. And being empathetic in human nature governs a typical type of personality. If you are able to understand the practical intelligence of a person, such persons have very good organizational capabilities. They are never living in isolation. They are the leaders, they are the mass leaders. They have their own personality traits, and their emotional intelligence is so high that they unanimously carry that ability of unity among diversity. Perception and skill, these are yet super exemplified forms of empathy. When without even saying a word, when without even uttering any emotion, you are able to read what is communicated in other person's mind. That is a mind talk, a very important thing. A perception is a thing which you can forecast or you can be proactive to judge. But that comes with experience and over the years development of emotional intelligence. Taj Mahal was not built in a day. Rome was not built by a single person. If you have to create the beauty of emotional intelligence, you have to nurture it daily, every day, in every aspect of life, in every aspect of your studies. To be a bookworm will not lead you to be an emotionally intelligent person. You have to be adaptive. You have to have the tendency to explore. You have to have the tendency to move ahead of your classroom teaching. You have to be move ahead with the syllabus. You have to be proactive with the topics which are being taught to you. When you are already prepared in your class, before the topic is being taught to you, you are covering a good character, a part of practical intelligence and a part of empathy. And when you will imbibe all these things in you, you will definitely become a winning student in your life. Now the last part of homeopathy and emotional intelligence is comparing emotional intelligence with intellect and memory. If you only rely upon memory, then you are just cramming, you are ratifying the things. That will lead to nowhere. If you are only depending on memory and comprehension, then you are only thinking and thinking and thinking and then expressing yourself on the basis of thinking. There is no emotional competency, there is no augmentation, there is no improvision. Improvise is a very important part of EI. Improvise is a very, very important part of EI. We improvise, we fall, we again strike back. We fall, we again strike back. But as I told you in my initial lectures, if we don't change our working methodology, our experiences will never change. So that is why we improvise, and we improvise not on the basis of memory. We improvise on the basis of emotional intelligence. Memory only involves processing of the knowledge. EI involves and uses emotions to change your behavior, to augment your behavior, and to move towards positive or a negative outcome. That totally depends on your EI. If you are having positive outcome factors, you will be having a positive EI. Memory and comprehension depends, clears up, helps you in getting good grades only. But EI motivates you in whatever state you are mind. It is the actually EI practice which converts, which turns failure into success. It is the EI which compelled Elon Musk, after losing all the money, creating rocket science and sending human beings into rocket space. It was the EI of Dr. Samuel Hahnemann that he dejected with the treatment. If he didn't have a good EI, there would have been no homeopathy. So EI is very important, and clinical spectrum of EI, if you have to understand, you have to understand through some examples. There is a girl who is being humiliated by a class teacher in front of whole world. Why? Because of a very simple fault. She had her hairs not combed properly. But the teacher scolds her, reprimands her in front of the entire school. Imagine the guilt, the shame the girl undergoes through. Now the very same girl is studying in a college. Unfortunately, bad luck follows the girl here also. And her teachers are very partial towards her. All her good efforts are thrown away, and teacher's pet are promoted. She will again feeling dejected. She is again feeling let out. She is again feeling hard work is not being promised. The girl moves ahead in her life. Now she has a family where she is not given the respect, where her self respect, her emotions are hurted. Her self respect is being constantly traumatized. She feels humiliated in her family by her relatives. And this process goes on and on in her life. There is no respite for this poor female in her life. And ultimately, one day she may develop cancer, she may develop any other disease. I don't want to take the name. But in homeopathy, all this emotional history points towards a few remedies. So, the clinical spectrum of emotional intelligence is very important. She was very good in practicing positive outcomes, but she was constantly dejected. So, the emotional problems, the emotional healing, and emotional wellness is all done in homeopathy. But this is achieved only when we are able to understand the role of homeopathy and role of emotional intelligence in an amalgamated, integrated, intimated way. We have to understand these things go very strongly with each other. So, now you should clearly know why we should study emotional intelligence, because it stimulates collective approach, not isolated approach. Together we can, there's a saying, together we can. So that collective approach is highlighted by emotional intelligence. Community oriented services. Not one or two people will satisfy you. When hundreds and hundreds of patients will be visited by your acumen, will be treated by you, then it will satisfy you. Community based approach. And last, burnout against protection against burnout. Now this burnout syndrome is very important. There is a limit to everything. There is a limit to be understanding. There is a limit to be cooperative. So when you are feeling that burnout syndrome, it is through your emotional and practical intelligence. You shrug off all the negative emotions. Now coming back to the another story. Here we have a person who comes to you for simple diagnosed case of migraine. And you use all the best remedies in your armatorium. Cluster headache, this headache, right headache, left headache, alternating headache, so and so pain, migrating pain, boring pain. You try each and every remedy of your homeopathy, but of no avail. Why? Because you forgot the most important part of homeopathy, that is anamnesis. When a homeopath talks to him, forget about your headache. Tell me how was your past. And when he narrates your story, that gives you shivers down your spine, then you understand the crux of emotional wellness, healing, problem, and emotional intelligence. Why emotional intelligence is necessary? This is yet another story which will help you. Okay, why it is very important for us to know the emotions what a human being has gone through. When the boy opened up his eyes, he found a stepmother. There was any piece of harmony and love and affection what he expected from his mother, stepmother, he could get. Irrespective of that, he used to get beatings and he was tied on a chair. He used to work like a labor in his own house. This was all, or this will all be narrated by in his complaints, all the negative aspects of his emotional healing. But he kept on striving, he kept on learning, he kept on fighting. But he could never ever share his grief, his grievance with anyone. Today he may be a very successful software developer. Today he may be a very successful doctor. Today he may be a very successful entrepreneur. But any emotion, any trigger, any emotional scene of a movie should instigate a headache. Now this emotional history of the patient has a very, very important role. So when we are dealing with emotional intelligence, we have to understand not only his present scenario of emotions, but sometimes it is very important for us to be guided from the emotions of the past. There is not a single road, there is not a single map by which success can be achieved in emotional intelligence. Every case, every individual has its own EQ level. Every individual has its own emotional wellness level. Every individual has its own set of unique problems and their own unique ways of dealing with them. Some may get succumbed, some may be a victim of their emotional turmoil, some may get used to of the turmoil, some may be a winner of the turmoils. How a person has fought with his level of emotional intelligence is important in homeopathy. So you are studying side by side aspects of emotional intelligence, helping you not only in your studies but also you are learning that understanding emotional intelligence of a person is an important part of homeopathy resolving his or her problems. We may have a lot of multiple spectrums of emotional wellness of a person and emotional turmoil of a person. The spectrum of emotional problems may be varied, weird, uncertain. He or she may be miser, avarice. He or she may be a gourmand. Now, these words are technical, but they all are homeopathic and they all are used in homeopathy. So, be very familiar with those words. You should have a very good understanding of all the words which are there in your Mathematica, which are there in your repertory. It is easy for you to understand a person is having a grief, but what is the source of grief is difficult for you to understand. And the more you work on your level of emotional intelligence, the higher will be the acceptance and adaptability and understanding of the emotional intelligence of other persons around you, whether they are your patients or your colleagues or your fellow students. The more you are practicing on your emotional intelligence, the more you are empowering yourself to be becoming a good homeopath. As I told you, the emotional problems are diversified. They may be having a feeling that I am the boss. You may be living in a fool's paradise. You are the best. That is a delusion, delusion of grandeur. So, to understand this aspect, you need to be a very good communicator. When a person comes to you and keeps on babbling and babbling of words, there is a verbal diarrhea, and you say, oh my God, my head is paining. That means you have poor emotional intelligence as you cannot identify he or she is loquacious. When a person comes to you and makes a bargain and you get aggressive, again your emotional intelligence is poor, because this bargaining attitude will help you to identify his emotional problems. So whatever you are seeing in an individual needs to be resolved from the emotional intelligence of your plane. And as you are budding in homeopathy today, you should understand the importance of this Gibraltar like rock today only. You have to nurture it day by day only, and once you start doing it, you will replicate numerous Taj Mahals in your life. You will replicate numerous Roman holidays in your life. So this emotional health is very important for you. Now we go why students should study emotional intelligence. It is because emotional intelligence incites a very important approach, collective approach. You may achieve some things individually, but several things multiplicatively. So, when you are striving as an individual, maybe mountain is your limit, but when you are working in a team, sky is your limit. It is all a difference of the approach. So, emotional intelligence instigates a collective approach, and that collective approach will be very much beneficial for you in your career. Simultaneously, emotional intelligence also helps in community oriented services. We have seen the worst times of our life, Corona, and how people came out in open. That was a brilliant example of their emotional intelligence. From no one to someone, people saw some out of the box examples of bravery, courage, philanthropy, giving attitude. This was all based on their emotional intelligence. Their emotional intelligence empowered them to take a risk which nobody was willing to take. Their emotional intelligence empowered them to work 48 hours non-stop. Doctors slogged their life. Police persons, every medical healthcare individual, everyone who was involved in fighting the battle of Corona, they were only able to do so because of their intelligence. Their superhuman tendencies came out from every ordinary individual just because on the basis of their emotional intelligence. Numerous remedies were distributed. Homeopaths across the globe worked on corona and made some brilliant results. So emotional intelligence is also responsible for community oriented approach. And remember kids, when you are working so hard, you are tend to burn out. You are tend to feel exhausted. You are tend to get choked up. At that point, having a practical thinking helps you out and protects you from burnout syndrome. Your practical thinking enables you to balance your work and your rest. Your emotional intelligence helps you to achieve maximum rest from minimum input. Even by a 2 hours sleep, you can be refreshing. So, emotional intelligence has a magnum opus effect if a person works on it, if a person delves on it, and if a person is ready to nurture on it. Emotional intelligence has plenty of things to offer him. Now, I shall repeat a very quick recap of whatever I have taught you. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to consider, to understand, to accept what others are thinking. It was a definition of Salvoy and it was a concept given in 1930s. Emotional intelligence is very helpful in homeopathy also and in academics. Emotional intelligence helps you to bring about professionalism. Emotional intelligence helps you to bring about leadership skills. Emotional intelligence helps you to churn up the group discussion activities, problem solving attitudes. A student can convert his failure into success by working on his emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence has an important role in homeopathy. We can understand the emotional intelligence by a behavior, by a character. We learn to see the application of emotional intelligence and differentiate it with memory and intellect. We learn how emotional intelligence is a part of empathy, practical intelligence. And we know students should learn emotional intelligence because it induces collectivist approach, community oriented approach and protective approach against burnout. We are learning a lot about of emotional intelligence. A thought must be coming to your mind. I am just a first year student. How can I amplify my EI? How can I amplify my learning through EI? So, here are very simple 4 basic steps by which you can enhance your EI and amplify your learning. Explore and justify why you chose BHMS. This is very important. Doing a half hearted work, being totally dejected, not believing in the system and working in the system will take you nowhere. So you have to explore within yourself. Learning a lot about emotional intelligence, a thought must be coming to your mind that I am just a BHMS student. How can I explore? How can I nurture emotional intelligence in me? So I have a very simple 4-step solution for you. Following this 4-step solution, you can easily master emotional intelligence and you can enhance your learning based on your emotional intelligence. For properly achieving these 4 steps, you have to be 100% honest, hardcore honest with yourself. First, you have to answer, explore and justify why you chose BHMS. Whenever you do any half-hearted job or a job in which there is your body is there but your mind and soul are somewhere else, you will never ever achieve success. So you have to put your heart, soul, body, mind, everything and then justify that yes, the path you have chosen of BHMS will be the journey of your life and you will believe in yourself in achieving the pinnacle of success. The first step lies in belief and justifying your step. Now, once you are justified and have belief in your step. You should be aware of all those ways about execution of understanding the BHMS framework. You should be able to proactively understand and explore about your BHMS journey. In first year, you have to be purely focused on the components of first year. In second year, you have to remember what was taught in first year, but simultaneously grasps the fundamental of second year. When you come to your third year, you should very well remember this thing. Now you are halfway mark. That means half of the preparation has already been done. So the gravity of the situation is very important now. And you should be a master of 2 years, and the third year, which is a clinical, and the fourth, which will also be your clinical year, you have to be very, very meticulous in your work. Now, when you are aware of the first year framework, you should apply all the learning methods, whether they are group discussion, cloud meetings, samplings, or whatever way which makes you comfortable with the subject. You should explore all the dimensions of learning. And remember one thing, my students, instead of giving 8, 10 hours, long hours, you should take binge learning. You should study for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and then take a break, a little break, so that your mind is again fresh. And simultaneously, training and learning in motivational based practice interactive session is the most important thing. You are your best motivator. If you don't find yourself motivating, look for somewhere else. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you lie with yourself. So, you have to understand the best person who can pull you up is yourself only. Don't look anywhere else. Look inside you. Look inside you, introspect yourself. What is your strength? If you find your strength, augment it further, enhance it further, sharpen it further. If you find your weaknesses, try all the possible ways by which you can avoid it. So, how to achieve it? You have to first understand what is in my control. Only your study is in my control. What should be your boundaries? Life is a diversified form. There are studies, there are extracurricular activities, there is family, there is everything. But for everything, there has to be a limit. And that limit and the boundaries should be very strongly controlled by your thoughts as well as your actions. Now, once you know your boundaries and you know what thoughts should govern you, you should set goals. And the pattern is very strong. Your pre-university, university, and all those interim tests, you should set a goal. You should set in this time, that has to be my result. I can't get a minimum score from that. This is how your emotional intelligence will start functioning, because now you are responsible for yourself. How do you, when you get burnout, what drives you further? What motivates you? What energizes you? You have to look into all those things. How do I introspect myself? That is very important. Introspection of others is the easiest task, but introspection of self is the difficult task which you have to master. Understand the challenges and start overcoming them from day one. Once you start understanding the challenges, the next step you will find is overcoming those challenges. So it is a sequential step by step. The sequential step by step of understanding the challenges will help you to learn the mistakes from your past, because you have a scientific background and your past mistakes should always be there to guide you in future. And your today's actions will course the way of your future. So this table should always be there in front of you about your emotional intelligence. What is happening around you will always affect you. So remember what type of birds you flock together, what type of company you keep. This is the entire emotional intelligence cultivational procedure. What makes you change your ideology? This is a very, very important thing. There might be some people who may put a drastic change in your ideology. Understand whether it is for your benefit or not. Now, what educative efforts you are doing and how others are taking care of themselves, that also becomes mandatory. Because sometimes when we can't find a solution from introspection, we learn from others. So, this entire chart will help you out, a reflection of your emotional intelligence as a student. Now, coming apart on some negative influences also, you have seen all the positive influences of emotional intelligence. There was a whole lot of discussion. But where you have trust, sometimes improper trust becomes incompetency in communication, or mistrust when it comes to the mind of a physician. It becomes breach into patient's private space. Empathy is actually related with incompetency in communication, and trust is related with breach into patient's private space. You should not take undue advantage of patient's trust or your colleagues' trusts. If somebody trusts you, they are handling you a very delicate and an expensive thing. If you don't handle the trust of other persons properly, you are breaching into their private space. When you are non-empathetic, when you are unable to look into other person's conditions, then ultimately communication can never be fruitful. Being very less empathetic, being very scarce in empathy, will lead to a very scanty, scarce communication. And in case of poor communication, the knowledge which you need for homeopathic interpretation will be less. Comfort is yet another very important thing. Nothing was achieved in comfort zone. You have to come out of it. If you are in a habitual of remaining in your comfort zone, then your objectivity is haywire. When your objectivity is haywire, you don't have anything specific to achieve. You will aim for a mountain and you land on a valley. You will aim for a valley, you land on keep on land. So you will never grow or progress if you don't come out of your comfort zone. Building rapport is a very good strong sense of communication. If you don't have a rapport with your persons around you, they will never be able to trust you. And when they will never be able to trust you, they won't be going along with you. You will be isolated. If you are too much satisfied with whatever you have, if you are too much in support of whatever you have, then your efficiency is bound to be affected. Day by day, your efficiency will go down. So don't be too much satisfied. As I told you, success is a journey, not a destination. So if you're based on your emotional intelligence, you are now totally resting upon whatever emotional intelligence you have today, and you don't want to augment tomorrow, my dear, you are killing yourself. You are killing your education. And don't be undue patient, because it induces paternalism. When you try to control, when you try to be the parent of other individual, that is where you are creating a big fault in your understanding and in your performances. Patience is related with paternalism. Don't lose your cool. People are bound to make mistakes. To be error is human. So don't be hanky-panky or impulsive and being judgmental on the mistakes of other person. You are not their parent. You are just an individual who is supporting them, surrounding them, or communicating with them. You are not their parent. So if you are too impatient, if you lose your cool easily, then you may remind them of their parents. Okay, you shout like my this, you shout like my that. So an impatient individual can never experience, can never nurture good emotional intelligence. Now finally, this is the cycle of emotional intelligence. There is a stimulus, there is a reaction, reciprocation, perception, execution. When you react in a positive sense, there is a positive self-awareness. The positive self-awareness manages yourself and manages those who are around you. Those who are around you, you make them ease, positive emotions flow. You be empathetic, you understand their agony, you understand their aspect. When you understand aspects of people around you, your social skills are highly capacitative. Capacitative social skills lead positive energy, building up of leadership, and excellence in results is obtained. And when you keep on reproducing positive stimuli, positive reactions, positive outcome of results, you achieve the pinnacle of success. But there are several roadblocks in each and every sense. You may not perceive correctly. You may not be self aware every time. You may be preoccupied by your own prejudices, by your own thoughts. You may not be in a state to self manage. So, once you overcome these blocks, you experience a good emotional intelligence. Now, again, a $1 billion question comes: how do I overcome these blocks? My students, the answer is a positive mindset. Now, what is a mindset? It's a reflection regarding human capacities. Means how a human being, how a human behavior over a period of time is reacting. As I told you, if you keep on repeating your same methodology, your experiences will always remain the same. So, if you want some new experience, if you want some new experiences, then your methodology should change. And when will your methodology change? When your mindset will change. So, mindset is a reflection of human capacities and human behavior over a period of time. It is of two types: fixed and positive. And remember, a positive mindset can only help you to achieve all the success. Why? Because it is through this positive mindset we develop interest towards learning new things, creating new things. The innovativeness of an individual springs up from positive mindset. People with positive mindsets, no doubt they can enhance their learning, enthusiastic in nature, are also hardworking. Minimum of two categories they always possess. Even if they are non-enthusiastic, they are extremely hardworking, and their hardworking in future creates enthusiasm for them. So, a positive mindset has a very strong interest in learning through an enthusiastic and a hard-working attitude, and this is how they control their path of success and make their success a journey. They never feel their success is a destination. Why? Because their enthusiasm never lets them feel that they have to stop. Their attitude for learning, innovativeness, never lets them feel to stop learning. They never become stagnant. They are progressive, they are evolutionary, they are adopting new and new strategies, and hence they keep on escalating on the path of success. They are constantly motivated and show increased efforts by which they can come out of their fixed mindsets. Whenever a prejudiceness of fixed mindsets affect them, out of their sheer motivation, out of their sheer efforts, they come out of that clutches of fixed mindset. Now, as Ramesh and Sasson says, positive mindset is a mental and an emotional attitude that focuses on the bright side, positive side, constructive side of life and expects positive results. A very simple thing, but how many of we get easily dejected? That is for us to introspect. This definition was there, will always be there, but believing in this definition, practicing in this definition is what you have to promise yourself today. As per Kendra and Cherry, positive mindset actually means approaching life challenges. Life has some good parts and bad parts. Life has its ups and its downs. That doesn't mean we should shun off from the downs. A rose is always accepted with thorns. We cannot accept a rose without thorns. These thorns of the life, these challenges of the life, when we face them constructively, when we face them diligently, when we face them autonomically with a calm approach, we have a positive mindset and we view ourselves as a positive winner in those conditions. Now, you all are dear students. So, for me, it is very important for you to enlighten the difference between the two mindsets. You are the judge of yourself. I am only stating some facts. I am enlightening you about some facts. You have to judge yourself how you have to move from a fixed mindset to a positive mindset. And these subsequent slides will really help you because a particular condition has been given, and against that condition how the two different mindsets will react you will see. And the most important condition is patient care, because that's what we are here for. This is our whole lifetime business. This is our whole lifetime service. Patient care. The fixed mindsets will be governed by their intelligence and their answers will be stereotypical. Positive mindsets will think out of the box. They won't focus on the diagnosis, a particular diagnosis. They will be more concerned about what other diagnosis is possible, what differential diagnoses are possible, what could be the other possibilities of prognosis. When it comes to medical knowledge related with a case, the persons, because of fixed ideas, because of their vast knowledge, it reflects they are book oriented. But persons with positive mindset may not have vast knowledge, but whatever knowledge they exhibit is patient oriented. Now, if we have a system based practice, the individuals with fixed knowledge, they have good grades, they excel in projects, numbers are always on their side. In some cases, people with positive mindsets may struggle to prove their metal and substance. But because they are hardworking, because they are enthusiastic, because they have untiring efforts, and their diversified approach will one day make them a winner. You may not start as a successor, but you will be successful based on your efforts. So the ones who has the last laugh has the best laugh, and it arises from positive mindset. Practice based learning. Self reflection is average. Why? Because they cannot focus on their loose aspects. They cannot improvise. They feel their knowledge is self sufficient. But with positive mindset, self reflection is par excellence. They have a self disciplinary attitude. They say you lacked it and you have to augment it, and then they work on it. The professionalism of fixed mindset is intuition based. Sometimes your intuition is correct, sometimes it is not correct. So they take a chance. They are uncertain about their professionalism. But here the professionalism of fixed mindset is based on their diligence and commitment. Hence chances of a positive outcome are more in positive mindset than in a fixed mindset. The most important part is communication skills of two different mindsets. The persons with fixed mindsets, they have a firm belief on their own single set of behavior. They are least adaptive and least evolutionary. Whatever they think they have achieved today is the best, and whatever they will achieve in their future will be on their this individual fixed behavior. Whereas positive mindset, they always think, they take up a challenge. Oh, this thing is lacking in me. I have to be like that. There is less empathy in me. There is less intellectual character in me. My moral character needs to be augmented. My practical intelligence needs to be augmented. My memory is more dominating. Currently, they don't shy off to say, I am a fixed mindset person. They never shy off to say, I want to be a positive mindset person. And they work on it because of their hardworking and enthusiastic nature. And they assume multispectral rapport. They don't approach to patients in a single way. If it is a girl child, they approach in a different way. If it is a boy child, they approach in a different way. If it is three females of three different age group, they will try to explore their symptoms in a different way. So positive mindset people are evolutionary. So now how to identify that such and such person is a mindset of positive mindset? They are expectant people. For them, glass is always half full. For them, there is always positive thing in the worst episodes of life. They are very humble, humility. They accept their success with a very cool headed mind. The success never goes out of their mind. They always know the truth. They never believe in propaganda. They seek opportunity in adversity. Even when their worst results, they feel if they work hard, they can change the course of their life. Non-cunning, non-deceit. are the most important attributes of positive mindset. They are hardworking, righteous, dedicated in their work. Now remember, the most important faculty which plays a role in mindset is undoubtedly mind. It is the place from where each and every type of thought is originated. I remember a line of Rene Descartes, one of the biggest philosophers we have. I think, therefore I am. Again, I am repeating, Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. So, whatever you are today is the product of your thoughts. And it is the thoughts which convert into action, the action it converts into character, and that character converts into a man or a woman who are today. So, if you really want to have a positive outcome, a positive mindset, a good emotional intelligence, a strong personality, you have to have a deep seated analysis of your mind, because it is the key issue to be ascertained by a homeopath for homeopathy. So, nurturing a positive mindset, my students, today will be a sign of a successful scholar. If from today you start nurturing a positive mindset, a good emotional intelligence level, a good sense of personality, that will surely be unlocking a positive homeopathic vision for tomorrow, for your next part of life. Thank you very much for your patience listening. Please take care. Dear students, always remember, a strong fundamental is based on a good recap. One should always revise and then move ahead. So, let me give a chance to review some important things related with your emotional intelligence. These are the steps by which you can augment your emotional intelligence, how you can enhance your learning, justifying your selection, learning all those methods, being aware of the structural framework, and being motivated. This is the blueprint of emotional intelligence in a student. In this blueprint, you know what is under the control of a student. How can he learn from his past mistakes? What are his boundaries? He has to set goals and then he has to work for those goals. So, this entire blueprint of student striving, struggling to nurture emotional intelligence is placed here. How others take care of themselves is also an important part of learning, augmenting and nurturing emotional intelligence, because there is a saying in English, if you don't have a vision, look for a man of vision. So, if you don't have a good emotional intelligence level, it's not your fault. But yes, it is your fault that you are not looking for a person who can inspire you. You are not looking for a person who can instill that confidence of nurturing emotional intelligence in you. It is your fault if you are not working today after going through this presentation on your emotional intelligence. Simultaneously, about emotional intelligence, not being empathetic has its own negative values. That is, you have incompetency in communication. If you are not empathetic, you are incompetent in communication. If you are not trustworthy, you are breaching up into the patient's private space. You will commit those mistakes from where his personal information will be leaked and you will have a very bad name. If you are working only in a comfort zone, you will lose objectivity in your life, in your career, in your practice, in your studies. If you are always in a habit of working in a comfort zone, you will never be able to achieve anything successful, anything landmark in your life. Developing a rapport, a good communication, a strong network of information. If you don't develop a rapport, the confidence level in you will always remain very low. Why? Because you don't have the correct information. You don't have the tendency to talk. And when you talk, when you are unable to talk, when you are unable to communicate, there will always be an inferiority in you. Being highly satisfied with whatever you have is not so good. Being highly content with all the support you have is again not good, because both these two factors will decrease your efficiency. It's just like rotting of the iron. Even if your iron, such a hard metal, gets corroded, its strength is lost. Its strength is lost. So you have to stop being corroded from too satisfaction and too much okay support. Lastly, don't be impatient and give an example of undue paternalism. So, my dear students, this is the cycle of emotional intelligence. Work on each and every part. Always there are emotional stimuli. Don't get carried away and just work on emotional intelligence. Be rational, be logical, be balanced, be calm. And remember, again, I am saying Rome was not built in a day. Taj Mahal was not built by a single man. So, you cannot achieve anything great without a good teamwork. And for teamwork, you are having some excellent lectures for you so that you can nurture your teamwork skills also. This is the cycle of emotional intelligence. It will always help you to understand where you are lacking in your life. And for developing a good emotional intelligence, you need to have a good, creative, positive mindsets. And for positive mindsets, there are some traits, there are some features which you have to follow. When you are dealing with your patients, when you are practicing, when you are learning, when you are disseminating medical knowledge, what are the differences between a positive and a negative mindset? They have been acknowledged, enlightened in front of you. You have to be an evolutionary thinker. Think for Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. He wrote 6 editions of Organon of Medicine. If he was of a fixed mindset, he would have satisfied himself with 1, 2 or 3 editions only. Dr. Kent, he never improving in himself. He has written so many good books. So, all the stalwarts were progressive evolutionary thinkers who were thinking out of the box. Positive mind traits. You have to understand these positive mind traits and nurture them in yourself. Mind is the key to unlock the vision, my students. A positive, healthy mind can always lock a successful homeopathic vision. So, best of luck for your homeopathic journey with a creative attitude and a positive mindset. Thank you very much.